Thank you, Drake. That was really wonderful. Good morning. It's so wondrous to see you all here this morning. Newcomers, longtime members, and those of you watching online. My granddaughter once said, "Pops, April showers bring May flowers. What do May flowers bring?" I could even remember that from when I was a little kid. My name is Jen Swenberg, and I'm delighted to be your celebration associate this morning. May we gather here to nurture our connections, seek inspiration, and embrace change. Interdependence is our theme for April, a time to reflect on how we can create and strengthen the connection that nurture and sustain our lives and communities. Today is non-binary Parents' Day, and so we wish them a particular blessing today. If you're new or visiting for the first time, I invite you to fill out one of the yellow cards that are pew cards, yes, and place it in the offertory plate. You can also drop it off at the welcome table, which is in here, in the parlor, right after the service, and that's where we'll have coffee and snacks and conversation. So please look at your order of service for various announcements. Nick Garin will give the adult religious exploration talk today at noon. Small group ministry for parents meets at noon today. Women's Circle is Monday, and Pub Theology is Tuesday. We have a full calendar. Nancy has a note for us.
Good morning. 2 years ago, our congregation adopted the 8th principle and became committed to action on to end racism. The 8th principle says that we will work to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. To that end, over the last several years, we have had a number of offerings of Living the Pledge to End Racism, which is a 6-week workshop where we look at racism within and without. It's a perfect way for you to explore how you can get involved in anti-racism work. This is a workshop that was put together by the UU congregation in Richmond, Virginia, by a white woman and a black woman. 80 folks in our congregation and in the greater Ithaca community have done the workshop in the past. So we will be offering another round of Living the Pledge that will start on May 8th. For 6 weeks, ending June 12th. It's Wednesday evenings, 6:30 to 8:30. It will be on Zoom. There will be a registration link in the weekly announce and on the website. So any of you who are interested and want to know more, talk to me or talk to anyone else who has done the workshop and is willing to give you information. Anyone else that's on our team here, are you willing to stand up? I'm looking around here. May not be anybody here this morning, but anyway, we would like to have you think about doing Living the Pledge, sign up. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you.
So before we light our chalice, why don't we all stand up, take a moment to greet those around us. You're all a happy group this morning. It's beautiful to see. Please join me in saying the chalice lighting words, which are printed in your order of service. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action.
Some of us are bringing our best selves to this space. Thank you. Some of us are also bringing our struggling selves, including pieces we might be in conflict with or even feeling a little shame. All are welcome here today. All of us are held in care. Some of us already have open hearts, and some of us aren't quite there yet because our hearts have gotten a little beat up this week and might have forgotten how to trust and be open. All of our hearts are welcomed here, no matter how bruised, how good it is to be together. Here, wherever we find ourselves, we are invited to gently drop our defenses and trust that what happens in worship is powerful and life-giving. Together, we affirm that this day and our being together can make each of us braver, more compassionate, and maybe even wiser than when we woke up this morning. Good morning on this day of birdsong. I am so grateful to the app from the ornithology lab. I counted 6 just in the few minutes I was out on my porch this morning. And our trying to be emerging spring. Let us center this time together of fellowship in song. Please rise as you're able and join us in the first hymn. Emily, my sweet colleague with her magnificent voice, because the hymn is in the insert without the music, but trust that Stephanie and Emily are going to carry the weight of this day.
I know you've got it, friends. I have some younger friends. If you have offered to help with the baskets, I'm going to have you come up now and grab a basket. Everyone else, I invite you to rise in body or spirit. And again, the words are in the insert.
Come on, HA, Tim.
always such a joy to be here with you these Sunday mornings. Now is the time where I'm going to invite anyone who wants to come forward for our Time for Wonder to come and join me on the steps. I'm also going to invite Carol Whitlow to come forward. She has something that she's going to share with us this morning. Box in a while. Do you want to open up the Wonder Box? Do you want to open it up? All right. Can I help you? Is it too high? Can I bring it down? It's all right. We're going to want it down anyway because there's a bunch of stuff in here that we're going to need your help with. All right. Can you open it up for us? What did you find? There are. You love seashells. Can you pull one of these out of here? It's all right, you can touch them. Do you know what that is? No. All right, Carol's gonna tell us about it.
In fact, you can even hand those around so everybody can have one.
That's right.
Can you just pass it back to your friends? Yes,
yeah.
You can.
Everything is touchable up here.
And you might notice some difference between what's in the Wonder Box.
Everything including people's faces.
Only if we ask for consent.
Okay, so for example, some of these shells here, what do you think of these? They are shiny. And what else? What do you notice about them? And sand in it, right? From their home. Some seashells are so colorful, right? Okay, so these shells are white. Why are they not so colorful as all of these other shells? Yes, and those are colorful. These actually are coral. The ones in the Wonder Box are coral, and the other ones are various other shells of animals. Well, let me ask you this. Is a coral a rock? Is it a plant? Is it an animal? Why do you think it's an animal? She's looking. She's looking. Yes, because a coral is actually...
Coral is living. It needs water and food. It's
Exactly.
not non-living like rocks. It's living.
Carol, where did you find these?
So I have a little bit of a sad story about these corals, but a little bit of a happy story. The happy story is that, as you say, corals are living and they need food and they need shelter, right? So a coral is actually a little tiny polyp. And when it's born, it swims through the ocean and attaches to a rock or other coral shells. It builds itself a hard, what we say an exoskeleton. You know, you've got bones that are hard inside. The coral, it's outside. And then, miracle of miracles, a little tiny algae goes inside and lives with the coral and helps the coral to make food. And while the algae makes food for the coral provides safety for the algae. Is that a good deal?
I'm a unicorn.
Friends, would you like, and so you found these on...
So the sad story, Emily, is that I was walking on the beach and I saw several of these pieces of coral. So coral actually live together in a group of coral. We call it a coral reef. And so many corals live together, and they provide shelter for fish, And they also help us by providing some safety from storms, so the storms don't come up and flood. I found these on the beach because
I think they were dead when I found them.
you are so smart. They were dead and they had broken off. And what happens with coral when the oceans get too hot is they expel those little algae that make food for them. They push them out, and then they don't have enough food to eat, and they die off. And the corals that were once so beautiful in color, because the algae helped them be colorful, now they're what we call bleached. Do you know what bleach means? It's when you take the color out of something, like sometimes people use bleach to get a stain out of clothing. But these corals are bleached.
So,
Oh my goodness, no, you can't.
so friends, Carol found these coral on the beach, and I'm going to invite some of you to take a little walk with me, kind of an imaginary walk along the beach, because one of the really cool things about these coral is that we're allowed to touch them. Has anyone here ever touched coral? Yeah. So friends, would any of you like to help me by taking a piece or two of coral and walking through our metaphorical beach and seeing if there's any other friends here who would like to touch these? Do you want to? Do you want to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, come on over. Come on over, Rain. Here, do you want to use this one? So while Carol tells us a little bit more about the coral, we are going to quietly go around, and if you want to touch the coral, you can raise your hand up for us, and we will come to you, and we will explore this coral together. You can take a shell, too.
So I'm going to take everyone on a walk, so take several so you can hand them around to people. So I want everybody to go on this walk with us. Take several so you can hand them out to people.
Stella, do you want to walk with me? Yeah. All right. Look, we got people right here that want to
So
see this.
here's how we start our walk. Breathe in, and what do you breathe in when you're walking on the beach? Breathe in that salty ocean air that's blowing in off of the ocean, and the moisture that's coming up from the waves. What do you hear when you're walking on the beach? Do you hear the seagulls? Seagulls are common beach sounds that we hear, but we also might hear the waves coming in, because there are always waves washing in and washing out. You feel the sand on your toes as you're walking on the beach? And then what else do you feel? You feel the warm sun on the beach? Oh, that feels so good. And we also see the seashells that are all around us. And some of them are quite colorful. Some of them are interesting shapes and sizes. And some of what we find might be pieces of coral that once were part of a very active coral reef and have now broken off. The reason why we're talking about this on Earth Day is because the oceans are getting warmer with climate change and the reefs are dying off. And the reefs are so important. They're home to 25% of the fish in the sea. And the fish in the sea feed millions and billions of people on this planet. So we need the coral reefs to survive, to have food for ourselves and shelter.
Come on back nice and quietly, friends, if you've gotten to everyone who wanted to touch the coral.
Oh, and yes, somebody else found one of these.
Some people were like stretching their
This?
arms out and they were raising their hands.
Oh.
And they stretched them out when I came by. And they didn't raise their hands.
Well, maybe they can come up later and get it. This is actually a sponge. You notice how soft it is? That's a sponge.
Did you know that when they're
So,
they just turn inside out?
talk here, I just want us to think about ways that we all help each other, the way that the corals, the polyps, and the algae help each other.
Friends, tomorrow is Earth Day. Did you know that tomorrow is Earth Day? Tomorrow is Earth Day. Tomorrow, April 22nd. And I want to say thank you so much for Carol for bringing in these beautiful shells and coral as a reminder of the interdependence that we have with so many creatures on this earth. And also to remind us that tomorrow is Earth Day, but we live on this planet every day. And I'm just going to encourage you to lean in to that interdependence that is one of our values and to care for each other and the earth. Friends, parents and caregivers, if you have not yet signed your young people into RE, I'm going to invite you to come into the parlor with Madeline and I now. We're going to make some bug hotels, also in celebration of Earth Day, upstairs with our kids. Everyone else, I'm going to invite you to sing us out with Where You Go, which you can find in the back of your gray hymnal. We will sing Mother Earth today.
An American physician and author once said, "The power of community to create health is far greater than any physician, clinic, or hospital." Raise your hand if you're familiar with the work of the FUSIT care team. Good morning, I'm Kathy Hopkins from the FUSIT care team. As a caring, compassionate community, we are all playing a part in caring for and supporting other members of this church during challenging times. Whether it's a friendly visit, a home-cooked meal, or a ride to a doctor's appointment, we all naturally help others in times of need. When a member of our congregation expresses a desire for additional help, the FUSIT care team goal is to help organize this type of support. Working within our covenant, we offer loving encouragement and service to those in need. Additionally, the care team offers help for family and friends with memorial receptions for our members. We administer the Human Needs Fund for those experiencing a short-term financial crisis. We help with distributing flowers to homebound congregants around the holidays. Almost every Sunday, almost, because she's not here today, the care team staffs a table in the parlor during coffee hour. Please stop by if you have questions or are aware of someone in need. We also warmly invite you to find out how you can help. Everyone is busy, and many hands make light work. For example, if you could give a ride or provide a meal occasionally, we will put you on an email list to notify when there is a need. The gift of your time, however small or large, can make someone's life easier and let them know that we care. Many thanks to all of you who already lend a hand, either through our team, your own small group, or as an individual. Loving kindness is beautiful in that it blesses and transforms the lives of both the giver and the receiver. We all have some ability to play a part. Look for a person with a pink name tag at coffee hour to learn more. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Now is the time for joys and sorrows. In a spirit of reverence, love, and care, we take time now to bear witness to some of the joys and sorrows of our community, to share those events that call for our prayers and support, our praise and celebration. We have a long list this morning. I'm going to start with a sorrow. Dilmaran Agozi is in Cayuga Medical Center and has been diagnosed with bone cancer of the lower spine. She would appreciate visitors, but please call first. Her telephone number is in Breeze. It's 607-256-8515. From Carol Whitlow, a joyful appreciation for our Environmental Interest Committee at FUSIT, led by Matt Frankie Singer, to help us work on sustainability in our physical as well as spiritual home. A sorrow for all our brothers and sisters who suffer due to climate change affecting their food and shelter, families and communities, and sense of safety in their daily lives. From Wendy Wolf, thanks so much to all those who helped make Cabaret Night a week ago Friday such a wonderful event. Delicious food, lovely setting, beautiful music, rich community building, appreciations especially to Renee Rogers, who I understand was the major initiator and organizer of the event. Thanks also to the cooks, Renee, Sue Ronke, Loretta Heimbach, including Keith, who made all the bread, decorators, servers, dishwashers, the wonderful musicians, and those who brought desserts. And coming back to our Earth Day theme here, from Cynthia Riggin, a joy. Tomorrow, April 22nd, is Earth Day. I wish everyone a happy Earth Day. From Matt Frankie Singer, I want to share an appreciation and joy. Please thank Marie McCrae for organizing a FUSIT and area congregations together table booth on the Commons yesterday. A lot of conversations and connections were made, and we shared a lot of hope. Please, let's all keep taking every step we can to save Earth Mother and all her citizens. And from Marie McCrae, yesterday afternoon there was a well-attended celebration of Earth Day on the Commons. That might have been joy enough, but as it happened, through collaboration with the event sponsor Cooperative Extension, FUSIT had a table there. At the table, we asked the question, what gives you hope? Matt Frankie Singer, Wendy Wolf, and I were joined at the table through the afternoon by people from the Quaker Meeting, from Tycoon Vior Temple, and the Presbyterian Church. We asked people passing to step in and write their hope on a sticky note to post on a board. When we asked, people smiled and eagerly wrote their hopeful thoughts. They read the notes on the board. They went away feeling a bit better. By the end of the afternoon, both sides of our easel board were filled with many, many notes, and those hopeful thoughts will be compiled and made into an exhibit that will be shown here at some time in the future. Thank you, Marie, and all of that were involved in this. And a joy from Loretta Heimbach for the 130,000 daffodils planted along the inlet trail that make it impossible to walk or drive by without smiling. It's quite glorious if you haven't seen it. For those we are holding in our thoughts, in our hearts, and perhaps in our prayers, let us call these names out loud into this community, into this space of healing and hope right now. We extend loving kindness to all in our world, and let us not forget to extend loving kindness to ourselves. Today, tomorrow, and beyond, let our hands be outstretched in kindness, and let us keep showing up to our lives and each other with an open heart, no matter what. love and courage to us all. Blessed be, and amen.
We have an Earth Day meditation this morning. I invite you to settle into a comfortable position, and if you wish, close your eyes to hear these words. Take several deep, grounding breaths. Now, bring your awareness to your senses. For this moment, visualize yourself outside, down the road at the foot of Cascadilla Falls. The sound of roaring water as spring is awakening, the air is growing warmer, the blossoms, daffodils are everywhere. Small buds forming on the trees. You hear the robins and the chickadees. With attentiveness, simply notice the sensory inputs to your body is richly experiencing. Continue to breathe deeply and slowly. Make space for a delighted sigh in your out-breath as you continue to savor the time. Bring awareness now to the softening of your body as you continue to be held by this beauty. Now, bring your awareness to your heart center. As you continue to breathe, deeply imagine you're filling your heart with love and gratitude for this day. How wondrous is our incredible world that enlivens us, nurtures us, and sustains us. So be it. Each week, we take an offering to sustain the important ministries and programs of this congregation and its presence in Ithaca. Giving to the plate is important. It's a symbol of our gratitude for this service and our ongoing commitment to support the work of the church. For those watching remotely, instructions for giving will be on your phone or computer and will appear on the screen during the offertory music. And the information below is in the live stream image on YouTube. For those attending in person, our ushers will now pass the plate. Please join me in saying the offertory words printed in your order of service. May these gifts bring about connection, inspiration, and engagement within these walls and beyond.
In that exquisite music, didn't you feel your body just sort of, just leaving? Whew. So our reading today. For as far back as I can remember, my mind has been stoked with ideas or concepts, some planted there by others, others freely chosen. And I don't know about you, but I feel ideas almost as palpably as one feels oppressive heat or a fresh breeze. There have been certain ideas that possessed immediate and lasting appeal from the first time I encountered them. Usually it was just a word or a phrase whose implication I quickly intuited. One of those concepts was web of life. The very word seized my imagination as an alternative to another phrase, the chain of being. I understood that concept, chain of being, all too well, thanks to the teachers at St. Nicholas Grammar School. I knew my place in the chain of being, and it was a lowly one, just one link above the animal kingdom. Maybe some of you got that message. I didn't like my place in the chain, and I didn't even like the idea of the chain, which made me feel shackled. And the only alternative I knew was being completely cut loose and plunging straight into hell. So the first time I heard the phrase web of life, I didn't exactly know what it meant to hear in its syllables an alternative and a challenge to the grip of my chain. But the image and the idea of a web seemed to offer the possibility of my repositioning myself and everybody else. The web was so much more flexible, the lines of influence running back and forth every which way. If the challenge of the chain was accepting my place in it, the challenge of the web was finding my place in it. It is, of course, a challenge I'm still engaged in, the one that I have learned can never be fully met. For 28 years, I was a member and ultimately the team leader for the crisis management team at Cornell. Initially as a chaplain, I felt naively adequately equipped to handle the high level of crisis our team responded to. I'm sorry if I'm triggering any anxiousness in our beloved past vice president of the division, Susan Murphy, who's with us today. It gets better, just hang in there. You were our rock. So naively feeling equipped, we witnessed one spring semester, multiple deaths of students, mostly suicides, in quick succession. The experience flattened me. I recall getting to the end of the term, I had tried everything. I recall that summer walking around feeling as if I couldn't shake my shoes of this wet sand. That summer I was accompanying my children one day to the lake and found myself rather uncharacteristically enjoying just floating on my back. With my focus only on the feel of the water and the blue sky above, I suddenly remembered a few lines of a Denise Levertov poem that gave rise to a sensation of release. As swimmers dared to lie face to the sky, and water bears them, as hawks rest upon air, and air sustains them, so would I learn to attain free fall and float into Creator Spirit's deep embrace, knowing no effort earns that all-surrounding grace. The release of my body brought tears to my eyes. It was only in recalling this poem that I felt the absurdity of how I had been moving within my world, that unconscious, controlled hypervigilance that had held me captive and rendered me isolated. Psychiatrist Daniel Siegel, in his book Mindsight, argues that in modern societies, where there is an emphasis on logic, analysis, and rationality, rational modes of thinking are highly favored. The left brain is associated with those functions, with logical, analytical, and rational modes of thinking, which of course serve us well. But as he writes, but with an overemphasis of left brain functioning, it can lead us to a narrow, compartmentalized way of perceiving the world. We kind of know this, right? Left brain dominance can cause individuals to become disconnected from their emotions, their bodies, and their sense of interconnectedness with others and their environment. Only in that release did I become conscious in that moment of my disconnected self. You and I are heirs to a religious heritage that holds central not just the spiritual principle that we respect the interdependent web of existence, but that we hold responsibility to honor and sustain those relationships. While many faith traditions acknowledge, at least in part, a similar understanding, the Unitarian Universalist tradition is fairly distinct in its non-dogmatic, pluralistic, and reason-based framework. It is our tradition that allows for a more flexible and evolving understanding of interdependence that can adapt to new insights and diverse perspectives, in the process deepening our reverence for the web of life and our commitment to environmental and social justice. This framework articulates how we wish, indeed, how we wish to be committed to live in covenant with one another and our shared world. But what understanding of the world is your or mine or our lives truly lived when we encounter times of scarcity, fearfulness, unrest, or just insecurity? Leanne Schreiber, in comical form, sets us up to laugh a bit at the obvious cruelty of what she was taught as a child. She comes to speak of a letting go, though, that is not just a freedom from the limits of being assigned to a certain place in the ordering of things with no agency, but rather the freedom to be more fully in herself, in relationship to all of life, to feel that connection, to feel that interdependence. It's actually taken me many years to understand what happened to me that day at the lake, which has such a lasting, profound healing effect. What I know now is that without a consistent mindfulness practice that supports us to lean into the vulnerability that comes with living honestly, with our limitations, our uncertainties, our insecurities, we are all quickly at the mercy of a culturally supported, maladaptive survival response to our shared existence. I've been reading a wonderful mental health counselor by the name of Bonnie Badenoch. This one line: the human brain expects access to relationships characterized by interdependence. It's our truest sense. I, like you, have known this on a cognitive level for a long time, and I suspect it is precisely why so many of us resonate with our UU principles and values. Still, when in a state of overwhelm or anxiousness, I can frequently lose somatic awareness of where I am held and part of a rich network of care and my evolving relationship to that network. There is sometimes a natural fatigue that surfaces when our lives are just too busy. Rest and restorative activity soothes that fatigue. But there is another type of fatigue, much like what I felt that summer after attending to so much loss. This is soulful exhaustion. So the story goes. The writer David White speaks of approaching a monk he respected in a pleading voice, saying only to the monk, "Tell me about exhaustion." Imploring the monk to speak of the exhaustion I speak of today, that sense of soulful exhaustion. The monk responds with a challenging question. Do you not know that the antidote to the type of exhaustion you speak of is not rest? David White remembers sitting anxiously, trying to understand. The monk continued, the antidote to soulful exhaustion is wholeheartedness. At which point David and the monk shared a Rilke poem that chronicles the awkward, clumsy walk of every swan as she makes her way to a clearing of water, nervous, unsteady, visibly vulnerable. But as the swan meets the water, if you know this poem, Rilke writes, and nervously lets herself down, the water meets her gaily, and which flows joyfully under and after her, wave after wave, while the swan, seemingly unmoving, but marvelously calm, is pleased to be carried, each moment more fully grown, further and further on. The monk then addressed David. You have only to touch the elemental waters in your life. It will transform everything. But you have to let yourself down into the waters that can be very hard and frightening. That will take courage and heart. Our place within the web of existence is found when we are held and reassured in this fragile place of interconnected aliveness. It's a place of knowing that is neither arrogant or boastful or overly confident. It's a place, though, instead, where we intuit joyful flow, wave after wave. We move then with confidence of right action and right attitude. Elemental waters. It is not lost on me that many of us may be feeling even a little soggy with all the elemental waters that have come to our world in the last few weeks. I'm with you. But in the context of this sermon, I want you to ponder, literally and metaphorically, what are the elemental waters in your life? It's not surprising I would remember the literal power of water in a day such as this day, in advance of Earth Day. Sure, Earth Day began as a call for concerted efforts to protect our waters, our air, the elements so vital to our survival. Most importantly, to wake up and live consciously, interdependently, to recognize where we were in that relationship. To truly live out of the spiritual principle of honoring the web of existence requires developing a sacred relationship with our shared world, with each other. That day, and I'm sure many of you have had equally powerful moments, the day I was at the lake, that feeling and connection with our natural world, not just with our intellect, but with our whole being. But beyond the literal, when considering what Rilke hinted at, having both the humility, the courage to lean into interdependence, to be less sure of ourselves, to risk letting go of certainty or illusions of control. The wonderful meditation teacher Tara Brach speaks of this in this way. It is the gift of releasing the grip of controlling that is truly our moment of freedom, inhabiting and being open to the intrinsic beauty of our beings, having our lives be an expression of receptivity, creativity, wisdom, and love. What we do each Sunday in worship, and I hope it nurtures all of this to continue when we are not in each other's presence, is to invite a greater integration within our beings, the merging of intellect with heart and with intuition. A reminder to our bodies, remembering we are not separate from each other, but really getting it. That we are not in a preordained, fixed state, even when we feel stuck. The invitation comes back again and again. Simply be still, be receptive, be curious. So the question remains with me, and I give it to you. From what understanding of the world will our lives truly be lived in these times where we are often encountering scarcity, competition, fearfulness, unrest? I pray that each of us can remember that we already are intimately part of a vast network of relationships in which we are both the givers and the receivers. In honor of Earth Day, I leave you with these adapted words from our beloved hymn, Blue Boat Home. We are called to lean into our world in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with all our companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, each one of us, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful, beautiful blue boat home, our earth. What a blessing. Blessed be.
I invite you now to rise in body or spirit to sing our closing hymn, which is number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. Number 21.
Oh,
Sam and I love the late poet John O'Donohue, so I'm looking straight at you, but don't make me cry. Closing words. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will be home in a new rhythm. Listen, intuit. Your soul always senses the world that awaits you. That hold that has us in its care. That hold of which we are part. May this be so.
We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our service is ended. Let our true service now begin. Go in peace.